This is the great discovery of the great philosophers, the great metaphysicians, the great mystics, the great mystical and religious and spiritual teachers. It's the foundation of psychology and the foundation of success, is that you become what you think about most of the time. So what do you think about most of the time? So basically you create your own life with your own thinking.
That your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. More than 350,000 people have been interviewed over the years and asked, what are you thinking about right now? The top 10% of income earners all answered the same. They think about what they want and how to get it most of the time. And when you begin to think and talk about what you want and how to get it, you begin to move rapidly towards your goals, and your goals start to move toward you. The more you think about what you want and how to get it, the more positive and optimistic you become. You set up a force field of energy that attracts people, resources, and ideas into your life to help you to achieve your goals. And you need to put your goals on paper. You can't hit a target you can't see. You wouldn't even go to the grocery store to buy groceries without a list. Your job is to decide exactly what you want, write it down, make a plan for its accomplishment, and then work on it every single day. Fortunately, goal setting is a skill you can learn. Every time you set and achieve a goal, you get better and better, and it takes even less time for you to achieve your next goal.
I was a failure. I had holes in my one pair of shoes. The shoes were given to me. My size is about 10 and a half. These were size 12, so I wore them like swim fins. I had to kind of lean forward into them, so it went ka-flop, 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 ka-flop. I had one clip-on tie and one shirt that was wash and wear. I had to wash it out in my sink each night because it would stink. And I had one pair of pants. I put on my little clip-on tie and my little shoes, ka-flop, ka-flop, ka-flop. And that was my beginning of my career. I could tell you within 25 cents how much money I had for the first 10 years of my adult life. And then I learned thoughts are causes. Now this is one of the hardest things for people to understand, is that their entire outer world is merely a mirror. It reflects back to them in absolute, complete accuracy what is going on inside. Now much of what is going on inside is conscious, some of it is unconscious, but basically it's the way we think and see ourselves and feel about ourselves on the inside that determines our external world. And if you want to change anything on the outside, you have to change things on the inside. Now imagine a person looks in the mirror and they don't like the way their makeup is put on, or they don't like the look of their face, and they start to pound the mirror. You'd say, you must be crazy. The mirror is neutral. The mirror just reflects back to you what you're presenting to it. So if you want to change what is being reflected back, you have to change what you present to the mirror. Once you understand that, by the way, you move into the top 10 or 20% of thinkers in the world. The most important quality for leadership is responsibility, is to accept responsibility and say, I am where I am and what I am because of myself. It ain't my brother, ain't my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer.
Many years have gone into researching the psychology of success and the psychology of failure. And most of the studies conclude that there are two major mental blocks that hold people back. The first is what Dr. Martin Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania has called learned helplessness. According to his research, this attitude afflicts fully 80% of the population, perhaps more. People feel helpless. People feel overwhelmed by so many things going on around them. They feel that there is nothing they can do to improve their lives. And the predominant signal that learned helplessness has set in is contained in the words, I can't. People feel that they can't lose weight, can't get a better job, can't improve or change their relationships, can't increase their incomes, can't upgrade their knowledge and skills, and can't do anything else that they really want to. They have tried unsuccessfully so many times in the past that they have come to conclude automatically that there is nothing that they can do to change the future. The second malady that holds people back is called the comfort zone. Human beings are creatures of habit. They begin doing something and they soon become comfortable with it. After a while, they become extremely reluctant to change what they are doing or the situation they're in, even if they're not particularly happy or satisfied with it. They become content, complacent, and eventually they become afraid to change for any reason. They get into a rut, and the longer they stay in it, the deeper it grows, until they finally lose all hope of ever changing or improving their lives. The deadly combination of learned helplessness plus the comfort zone leaves a person feeling trapped and helpless, weak and powerless, unable to take control or to make any real difference in their lives. But the truth is that there are no real limits on what you can accomplish with your life. And as Henry Ford once said, if you believe you can do a thing or you believe you cannot, in either case you're probably right. Remember, the only limits on what you can do, have, and be are the limits that you accept on your abilities and your own potential. By learning how to think big about yourself and your future, you will learn how to take firm control over the direction of your life and accomplish more in the next few years than most people might accomplish in a lifetime. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my own background. I left high school without graduating back in the 60s. I traveled and worked at laboring jobs for a few years before I stumbled into sales. In sales, I spun my wheels for many months until I finally had a breakthrough that changed my life. The first breakthrough for me was when I learned that I could learn anything I needed to learn to achieve any goal I could set for myself. The second breakthrough was when I realized that I was completely responsible for myself and everything that happened to me. No one was going to do it for me, and the only limits were the ones I set on myself by my own limited thinking. My third breakthrough was when I learned that all causation is mental. Everything in your material world begins with a thought within your mental world. If you want to change something on the outside, you have to begin by changing it first on the inside. There are 4 powerful mental laws that you need to know. The first is the law of belief. This says that whatever you believe with feeling becomes your reality. If you absolutely believe that you are destined to be a great success, then there is nothing in the world that can stop you from becoming that great success. The biggest job that you have is to change your beliefs on the inside so that they are consistent with the realities you wish to enjoy on the outside. The second law is the law of expectations. This law says that whatever you expect with confidence becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. If you expect to be successful, you eventually will be successful. If you expect to be happy and popular, you will be happy and popular. You are continually telling your own fortune by the way you talk about how you think things are going to turn out. Positive, successful, winning individuals have an attitude of positive self-expectancy. They expect to be successful in advance, and they're seldom disappointed. Remember, the very best way to predict the future is to create it. And you create your future by the way you approach everything that happens to you, either positively or negatively. The third law is the law of attraction. This law says that you are a living magnet, and that you attract people and circumstances into your life that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. The more you think about something and the more excited you are about achieving it, the more you will attract it into your life, like a magnet attracts iron filings. You'll attract the people, circumstances, ideas, opportunities, and resources necessary to help you achieve your goals. The final law, which links them all, is the law of correspondence. This law says that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. It says that wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you look, you see yourself. Your outer world of wealth, work, relationships, and health will always be a reflection of what is going on inside you. These laws of belief, expectations, attraction, and correspondence, taken together, are the keys to your accomplishing wonderful things with your life. When you begin to think big about your dreams and goals, you change your beliefs. You control your expectations, and you activate the law of attraction. You bring about corresponding changes in the world around you. All successful and happy people have a successful, happy mindset. All prosperous and wealthy people have a prosperous and wealthy mindset. And when you develop the same mindset that is in other successful people, you will enjoy the same results and experiences in the world around you that they do. Since everything you create in your outer world begins with a thought, the bigger dreams you dream, the bigger goals you will achieve. It is said that average people have hopes, but leaders have vision. A vision is a mental picture of the future that you can see clearly before it appears in your reality. Leaders practice back from the future thinking. They project into the future several years, and then they look around them at what it would look like. They take a mental journey 5 or 10 years forward and imagine that they have achieved all of their goals. They then look back to the present, like looking from the top of a tall mountain down to where they're actually standing in the valley, and then they look at the path that they would have to take to get to where they want to be in the future. The most important part of dreaming big dreams is for you to define your ideal future vision. It is for you to think about what you really want before you begin to think about what is possible for you. You dream big dreams by looking into the future and imagining that you have no limitations whatsoever on any of your abilities. When you imagine no limitations, you break the psychological chains of learned helplessness and the comfort zone. You rise above your current situation and pretend for a while that you have all the time, all the money, all the people, all the resources, all the education, all the knowledge, all the experience that you could ever possibly want to be or have or do anything that you could dream of.
Here's one of the great equations that goes back 2,000 or 3,000 years before Christ. Thought times emotion equals reality. In other words, a thought that is disconnected from emotion has no effect. An emotion that is not guided by thought is just chaos. But a clear thought backed by an emotion, and the emotion can be one of desire, I really want that, or it can be one of fear, I'm afraid of trying it. In either case, the thought times the emotion equals the reality. So if you could think of doubling your income and think of all the reasons why you'd like to do it and all the difference it would make in your life and your practice and what you could do for your family, and you get really excited about that, thought times that emotion is very healthy, and it begins to materialize, almost like a Polaroid photograph used to develop, begins to materialize in your reality. However, I've worked with Tom Stanley and Bill Danko, and Tom Stanley and Bill Danko are the ones who wrote The Millionaire Next Door. And Bill Danko did most of the heavy lifting. He did 25 years of detailed research, surveys, analysis, attending meetings, and so on, to find out how self-made millionaires think most of the time with regard to money. And you know what they think about most of the time with regard to money? They think in terms of financial independence. And whenever they have to make an expenditure or a decision with regard to money, they say, does this help or hurt? Does this add up or take away? Because everything counts. Now, what most Americans do is they want to be spend, and until their daddy takes their T-bird away. They want to have fun, and put it on credit cards and so on. So the average American, the bottom 80%, lives on 110% of their income. And now, unfortunately, the chickens are all coming home to roost, and their income was built on an inflated home value. That has collapsed, and so now the whole house of cards is collapsing. The wealthiest Americans save 10 to 20% of their income from their first paycheck. They cut it off the top and they put it away, and they save it, and they build up cash reserves. The wealthiest Americans have 6 to 12 months in cash reserves that they never touch. Now, you could say, well, that's an awful lot, and I can't afford it. And I go, okay, I'm just telling you, that's how self-made millionaires think. Their net worth goes up at a rate of about 7 to 8% a year on their capital base. They don't try to make a killing in the stock market or in .coms and things like that. They save their money and they grow it carefully and safely. They're very attentive and thoughtful about their money. They're very frugal in their decisions. But what do they think about most of the time? They think about achieving financial independence. Tom Stanley talks about going to a conference of entrepreneurs that had been addressed by an economist the year before. And it was at the reception, and he heard people saying, what's yours? And he said, 8 and 4. What's yours? 10 and 2. What's yours? 6 and 3. What's yours? 18 and 2. What's yours? Made it in April. And he was asking people, what is this? What's yours? What's yours? What's yours? He said, well, last year we were taught by the economist to think in terms of how long we could survive financially if our income was cut off based on months and years. And so first thing we have to do is calculate how much would it cost me to survive for 1 month if I had no income at all. And then you multiply that times 12, and that's how much you would require to take 1 year off. Now, one of your great goals in life is to work by choice if you work at all. You want to have enough money so that you never have to work again. You won't ever stop working, by the way, because knowledge workers never stop working, they just do different things. If you stop working with your brain, you start to deteriorate very rapidly. But if you keep working actively with your mind, you can live till your 90s. Anyway, so, and this is what self-made millionaires do, is they calculate their monthly rate, all right, times 12 to get their annual rate. I'll just write annual. And then they multiply that times 20, the number of years that they are planning to live after they retire, and that gives them what is called the number. Now, every person here, is one of your responsibilities as an adult, has to know your number. What is my number? And the number is the amount with which you could retire and never work again. And the interesting thing is, knowing your number, calculating your number, will increase your likelihood of achieving it by about 10 times. The likelihood of achieving it just soars astronomically because most Americans don't know what it is. Now, you guys are young and you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s and so on. You don't think about this, but self-made millionaires start to think about it at a very early age. And they hit millionaire status by the time they're 45. Others, making a fabulous living, end up at the age of 55 or 60 and they're broke. So, do you want to be financially independent? Say yes. Then think about financial independence. Self-made millionaires never buy new cars. I can't say this in a public audience because there's always car salespeople and they beat me up afterward. But they buy cars that are 2 years old. All the depreciation has been driven out of them so that the prices come down. They buy expensive cars and they get them recertified, so they've got another 5-year warranty, and they drive them 10 years until they fall apart. And all the extra money that people are out there buying cars every year and so on, all that extra money, what do they do with it? Yeah, they save it carefully, put it away, and so on, and as a result, they become financially independent. So the University of Pennsylvania was commissioned by several large companies to try to find out the profile of high-performing men and women. Over a period of 22 years, they interviewed 350,000 people. They gave them psychographic profiles to find out basically how they thought in a variety of different areas, qualities, characteristics, virtues, values, and so on. And then they began to slice and dice them by deciles. The bottom 10%, next 10%, all the way up to the top 10%. And then they followed them for as long as 2 years and asked them, what do you think about most of the time? And they found that people in the top 10% think very differently from people in the bottom 80 or 90%. Now, can you guess what top people, since you are in the top 10% in your profession, can you guess what top people think about most of the time? Well, the answer is they think about what they want and how to get it most of the time. So I'm going to teach you a go-forward word, and this is the word that you're going to use for the rest of your career. This is the word that will guarantee that you'll get onto the fast track in life, you'll increase your income at a more rapid rate than the average person, and you take complete control of your life. And the word is how. Say how. Okay, from now on, when you want to double your income, the only question you ask is how. You want to double the number of patients coming to your practice, the question is how. You want to double your profitability, the question is how. You want to solve a problem, the question is how. Now, whenever you ask the question how, which is what leaders do, leaders are all how people. How do we resolve this? What do we do? What is our next step? What's our action? Non-leaders, followers, are passive people. Who did it? Oh my God, what's going to happen? What should we do now? They're like the little sheep running around in a circle. Whereas leaders say, all right, what's going on? Let's go. Let's make a decision. What's happening here? Get the information, and so on. Now, when you ask the question how, it's like stepping on the accelerator of your own creative mind. You step and it throws off ideas, like those little lightning strikes in the cartoons or the light bulbs, and every idea is for an action that you can take when? Now. It's for an action that you would take now. Whenever you ask the question how, you get ideas. And the interesting thing is, they did a study at Harvard. They found that the greatest single predictor of success, especially financial success in life, is creativity. And creativity is designed by the number of ideas you come up with. And you'll find that the more ideas you come up with, because of the law of probabilities, the more likely it is you'll come up with a great idea. One of the most important things that you get with Ed is that you get exposed to a lot of ideas. Now, when you look at all the ideas that Ed gives you, there's no way a human being could apply them all when they get back on Monday, is there? So what you have to do is you have to pick and choose. The reason that Ed teaches you so many ideas, and I understand this, is because you never know which idea is going to be the right one for you at this time. So what you do is you get a lot of choices. It's sort of like going to a beautiful buffet. You're not going to eat everything, but you're going to look at the buffet and you're going to pick the things that you want or need or can use at this moment. So what we do here is try to give you a buffet of ideas that you can pick and you can fill your plate, and a year from now you may come back and fill your plate completely differently. But it's the number of ideas that you have that largely determines, we say it's the quantity that determines the quality. And so the more things that you do that trigger ideas, the more words you know, and the more word concepts, the more business concepts you know, the richer is your inner vocabulary, the more and the better ideas you come up with. So it's really important. Every time you ask the question how, you get ideas for action. Wow. All right. Now,